Hi everyone, Tom Bosner here, back in the mix for 2023 for the Well Workplaces podcast, which is brought to you by Pinnacle Health Group. A little bit of a behind the scenes here, just so you get a snapshot of what I tend to look at before a podcast. I quickly clean my son's cot behind me and stuff all the toys in the corner. You can kind of still see them, but whatever. It's a very organic setup here. I am obviously in my son's room, and for the show today, and before I connect with my next guest, which is Nick Jonsson, I wanted to, I guess, share some thoughts of where I kind of get what I'm thinking before I get into a podcast. So I know I've read Nick's Jonsson's book, which is a amazing best-selling book on executive loneliness and how to overcome the strategies around how executives can overcome loneliness and get through adversity, as Nick has. Nick, by the way, for example, for his bio, is the co-founder and managing director of one of Asia's biggest networking organizations. The organization's called Executives Global Network, or EGN, and he's based in Singapore or Malaysia, and I'm not quite sure. So we'll confirm that when I chat with him. But in the lead up to chatting with a guest, I've normally got some pre-prepared thoughts, I guess, on the topic itself, but I don't over prepare. So I just go in and have a chat and try and connect with the person through the camera, which I've gotten better at each time I do an episode. And for Nick, things that come to mind, he's got a really interesting story around how, he climbed the corporate ladder. He had issues along the way, I guess, is probably the best way to put it. He's going to have a fascinating story, and he's also done Ironman. So we're probably dealing with a type A corporate ladder climbing individual who's experienced some hard, been through some hard times and has come out of it and somehow created this amazing business networking group called Executives Global. Sorry, what's it called again? It's called EGN, Executives Global Network, in Singapore, which connects lots of executives together to open up and business owners to open up and connect. So what a cool way to overcome adversity, and a really great idea for executives. We know that it is lonely at the top, and it's hard. It's hard. Where do executives go to when they need support and help? It's not as if they can connect with their employees or and I know there's a lot of talk of being vulnerable, but I can say as a man or as a male, that is something that doesn't come naturally. We sometimes, and that type A personality does push through certain things and just keeps the head down through uncertainty. The other thing that comes to mind is through the last few years for executives, I'm imagining that there's been a lot of pressure, a lot of buildup of pressure on their shoulders to be the leader through the challenging times, and probably care for others more so than taking care for themselves. Even though we talk about self-care and we talk about being vulnerable, and we also talk about how important managers are to the success, or leaders, how important that they are to the success of the team. If the leader's a great leader, we know the well-being of others will generally be quite good as well. So anyway, this is my preamble or my ramble before I connect with Nick, and I just thought you might find that interesting, because you can see that I'm kind of all over the shop, and I'm just talking and thinking out loud about how I might approach Nick from a podcast perspective, and how I try and extract, I guess, the best outcome for our listeners and our community. If you haven't heard of Well Workplaces, please connect with us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and subscribe. It's just a really open discussion, and it's a podcast that's focused on well-being for workplaces overall. So anyway, make sure you connect into Nick's podcast episode, which will come out probably quite soon, and I feel like it's going to be a really interesting discussion. Anyway, wish me luck.